everybody else. You got a master plan. Everyone's talking about it. We're all making bets. Your mama's done calling you. Do you have any regrets?
Well, good evening, everyone. How y'all doing? Longevity John here at the Duncan Showroom, your host tonight. Tonight is what we call Blue Valentine. We're going to do a tribute to the music of Willie P. Bennett, who unfortunately 15 years ago passed away on this date, the 15th, which to me became a Blue Valentine. I remember getting a phone call from Pat Temple that morning, it was morning to us, but they had found out early in the afternoon that he had passed out. He had passed on around 10 o'clock in the morning, 10:30, 11 was when they found him. And it was really disappointing to a whole bunch of us. It is whenever you lose someone close to you, or specifically with someone like Willie, is that he made himself close to so many people by the music that he wrote. And anyone who ever witnessed a show of his or a concert or listened to an album or anything did find out just how Silver Bullet style his music was and who he was. I mean, he was a very gracious person. And on stage, he gave 150% each and every time. And anyone ever witnessed a Fred Eaglesmith concert with Willie on mandolin he would be the one that got the most applause, even over Washboard Hank. Bless his soul. That's just because of the commitment and the devotion he put into it. I remember talking to him after he had his first heart attack. That was in the fall, late August or something, early September, and he said he was singing and they were playing and with Fred, and his chest started getting really tight and he was losing his breath, but he figured, oh no, this could be, am I dying? Is this a heart attack or whatever? And he said, I made the decision rather than stop. It was to go through, figuring what a way to go, doing what you do best, right? But he managed to make it through that night, actually made it to the donut shop, had a donut, got home. The next morning, someone convinced him after listening to what he had said to go to the doctors, and he found out that he had some heart problems. And maybe through a misdiagnosis or whatever, they never did get a chance to go in. And we found out it could have been repairable. But it didn't happen, and that's just the way it is. We lost him. So it's always been a thing for me to try and make sure that people knew, and a whole bunch of us involved, that made sure that Willie's music lived on. And every year we do a little celebration of life or a celebration of his music. And tonight, one of the things we're going to be doing is we've got 4 artists that are going to perform tonight. There was Kara couldn't make it. She decided that she just wasn't able to get into it this year, but she will be doing it next year. Trip and me, that's Mary Egan and Craig. We're all ready to do it, but Craig had a heart attack the other day. Just a mild one, but enough to curb him coming out and performing tonight. Good idea. Rest, Craig. Just rest. And but we have 4 people that will. And the interesting thing about this is only one of the people actually got to know Willie and actually traveled with us a couple times and did an opener and an MC work for Willie. So it's neat for me to know that there's new people finding out about what the music is. Many a time over the years, over these last 15 years, specifically in the first 2 years, a lot of people who knew him did renditions of his songs, and that was powerful. That was very powerful. But one of the things that we've wanted to do is to make sure that the new people in the world, the new people who haven't known about him, do get a chance to discover what he's like, and maybe throw a song or two in their repertoire so they can just make the music keep on going on. Tonight, we're going to start off, we got Malachi is going to be opening up. He's got a couple songs. Steve Cutler's got a song that he picked. And I was thinking maybe Bill Levity or Lip Forest. Who wants to go? You guys can do the old scissors. Well, it's funny because Bill Levity's doing the old, I'm a senior. Well, he's got his own rendition, and I would like to sort of save him up for the end, if that's okay. So I would put John up and then have Bill Levity closed the evening. But during the songs, we're going to take a little break between the different performers and let you listen to an album that after Willie had had his first heart attack, he decided to, and he felt healthy enough, he decided to drive across the country, and he stopped off in Winnipeg and recorded an album. There was a young guy up there that he trusted quite a bit to Jackson to take care of and bring the innocence and the rawness and everything that he could do as a solo artist. So then he came out, and I remember him coming to the Duncan Garage Showroom. It was his first performance since the heart attack. And he walked out on stage, and he got there before I could get to him. But as he would, he went out to do something, and everyone started applauding, so he immediately started talking. I said, no, Willie, hold on. And I ran up with a set of jumper cables. Don't worry, Willie, we got you covered. Give it if you want to. And he gave it that day. As a matter of fact, he started off with woman with the that one, the dance one. He does. Yeah, and it was like the most powerful song and the hardest working song. He starts off the set with that. And by the time he got to the end of the show, you could see that he was, it was tiresome on him. But it was an honor to have him come out and do that first show there. And then when he had the album, or the raw cuts and everything, and he worked on that, and he was just about to release an album. And it never got out because he passed away before, but we were in a position, some of us, to, it looked like it was going to be stalemated and not get out for a long time. So we were able to grab it, and a bunch of people decided that the world needed to have it. So we sort of bootlegged it. And in between artists tonight, you'll be able to hear some of those cuts. Not everyone's heard them. We did get rid of some of the CDs, but not everyone knew that these were the new songs that Willie was doing. And when you realize just how killer they were, you go, yeah, man, the guy was just taken away from us way too early. But again, the joyness of it is people like Malachi, coming up 14 years old soon, learning some Willie P. Bennett songs. Matter of fact, he's been a part of this 3 or 4 times. And I've been watching him on stage sometimes at the 39 Days of July and that, where he'll pull out a Willie P. song, and he just, the old heart starts beating, and you go, wow, if Willie was around, he'd be impressed. But he is around. He's going to be listening tonight somewhere. I know this is all happening because tonight, here, tomorrow night in Peterborough, and all over, there are people tonight laying memories to that man. And right now, we're going to let Malachi get on stage and showcase 2 songs that he thought that he would like to do. Give it up for Malachi, please.
Thank you. Like John said, I've done this, I think, 3 times now. It's been an honor to be able to be playing this great music at his memorial of his death. But this first song I'm going to play is a song I played last year, but I think it's probably my favorite song of his. And it is Lace and Pretty Flowers. You got lace, pretty flowers to give you a baby. Get her under your powers. You got silk and sweet perfume. You know she might come up to your room. If you got soul, you know she's gonna pull you over. And when my baby pulls me over, I feel like I wanna fly. I feel like I wanna fly. You got satin and lots of money and diamond rings combs and such things to trap your honey. You got big black cars you wanna let her ride. Give it all to her, she might come over to your side. If you got love and a deep devotion that gets just as deep as the ocean, just you two inside, just you two inside. You got a house, mansion in the country. Give it all to her, you could still be empty. You could be the richest man in the world. There's nothing I know of that'll buy you the heart of a girl. If you got love and a deep devotion that gets just as deep as the ocean, but just you two inside, just you two inside, just you two inside. Thank you. This next song, I believe, Leanie Beanie played last year. And when I first heard it, I was like, I'm going to do this next year. Because I had already picked out my songs that I was going to do. And so I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this next year. And so I'm doing it now. And I was recently reminded of it when I went to see Blackie and the Rodeo Kings. And they played this song. And this song is A White Line by Willie. Cold and lonely on the road, Lord, I wish I had a hole to climb in. Summer's warm and sure ain't coming. Lord, it seems to me that I'm thumping again. Standing by a midnight highway, sir, you going my way, on and on the endless white line goes. Tired and hungry once again now, the sleep keeps coming down on top of me. All the time I keep wishing I have me a warm coat and a hat so I can see. Standing by a midnight highway, excuse me sir, you going my way, on and on the endless white line goes. Sunny days are what I pray for, the golden sunshine on my skin. Head on south to the Teton Mountains, Lord, it seems to me that I'm thumbing again. Standing by a midnight highway, excuse me sir, you go I'm inside of some place that is out here, outside in the snow. On and on the endless white line goes. On and on the endless white line goes. On and on the endless white line goes. On and on the endless white line goes.
Thank you, Malachi. That's really cool. Learn those. White Line, David Whippen did that song as well. He did a cover of it years ago, and it was kind of the highlight of his album, one of the songs that stood out. And matter of fact, Willie always said that David probably did it better than he did. But no, that's just the way it was, you know, because David did have a handle on it. It was a very good one. And there was a band out of the States, too, a bluegrass band that took it up and made some time with that as well, as many things did happen. Now, right now, we're just going to play maybe 2 songs off Sharpen the Plow, which was the name of the album. We're going to play that, and then we'll have Steve Cutler get up. Sit back and enjoy and just realize just what a great writer this gentleman was, Willie P. Bennett.
Twister, she don't need no man, she don't want no mister. She dance so pretty, she dance so sweet, dance every man at the dance with up his feet. Her daddy grew corn, mama grounds it up now. Sister's baking cornbread, Lord, and the cornbread. I get so tired, she worry for me, she cover for me, she cover me. I get so tired, she worry for me, she cover for me, she cover me. Her daddy grew corn, mama grounds it up now. Sister baking cornbread, Lord, and the ground it up now. Sister baking cornbread, Lord, and the cornbread. Your daddy grew corn, oh, mama ground it up now. Sister baking cornbread, Lord, and the Twister, she don't need no man, she don't want no mister. She dance so pretty, she dance so sweet, dance every man at the dance with up his feet. Her daddy grew corn, Mama grounds it up now. Sister's baking cornbread, Lord, and the cornbread. I get so tired, she worry for me, she cover for me, she cover me. I get so tired, she worry for me, she cover for me, she cover me. Her daddy grew corn, Mama grounds it up now. Sister baking cornbread, Lord, and the cornbread. Give me much more than the skinny ones do. Yeah, all the other boys think I'm a fool. She give me much more than the skinny ones do. The daddy grew corn, his mama ground it up now. Sister baking cornbread, Lord, and the cornbread. Yeah, her daddy grew corn, her mama ground it up now.
P. Bennett. Mr. Willie P. Bennett. Boy, that's a great album. And he always played his harmonica backwards compared to everybody else. And he usually used a rack when he was playing, which made it even more difficult to do the amazing things he did. His cheeks would literally just expand. He was a bluegrass player, right? Predominantly a harmonica player. And so his jowls would just explode. Like there was almost like there was a trumpet player. Dizzy Gillespie. Yeah, he was almost a Dizzy Gillespie style thing. Like they would just puff right up, right? Great player. Right now, Steve Cutler's going to get up. He's the gentleman who showed up here one night for open mic. And no, is it this? You showed up at the 39 Days of July originally on the piano open mic, and I listened to that, and then we got him to come down to this one, realized that he's a guitar player. But we liked what he did, and he writes some great songs himself, does some great covers, and as he says, now discovering Willie P. Bennett, the song he's going to do tonight will be in his repertoire, which is kind of cool. It's, again, what we're trying to do is to have the new people find out about Willie and make sure that the rest of the world gets to know it, only because he was such a good songwriter. But right now, Steve Cutler's get up. Let's give him a warm welcome, please.
Decent crowd out here tonight. Right on. Good to see a lot of people here to celebrate the music of Willie P. Bennett. And as John said, I'm like a complete newbie to his music. John asked me, I don't know, a couple weeks ago to be a part of this, which I'm really excited to do this. And frankly, I couldn't have told you a single Willie P. Bennett tune 2 weeks ago, and now I know a few, and I know one quite well. Maybe not quite as well as I would have liked to know it, but I know it pretty well at this point. Well enough to give it a go anyways, and it's definitely going to be in my regular repertoire from now on, as are, I think, a few other Willie tunes. So I'm really grateful to be a part of this and excited to learn more about his music, and I'm going to play you Willie's Diamond Joe. That's what this one's called. Thank you. Thank you. That's important. I was going to do it a cappella, but I guess this was just for show. You ruined the surprise. Oh, thank you. That's much better. Once I was a rich man, a gambler was my game. Till I saw her cool beauty, inside her dance my flame. And I watched as my desire was turned from me to her. And she watched till I was blinded, and then she left me. Diamonds for her fingers and rhinestones for her hair. Her dresses for her body, don't ever give her care. She'll curse you and she'll haunt you, and she'll do it with a smile. Even when you're on the long road and been down in many a Well, I gave her all she needed, and I loved her all I could. But she wanted more boys, and I never understood. Times when I would leave her, I never could decide whether I was gone for good then, or just for one last ride. Give her diamonds for her fingers and rhinestones for her hair. Give her dresses for her body, but don't ever give her care. She'll curse you and she'll haunt you, and she'll do it with a smile. Even when you're down the long road and been down in many a mile. Even when you're on the long road and been down in many a mile. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks, Willie. Thanks, John. Thank you, Ted. And hello at home to Sarah and Makeda and Cora who are watching. And everybody else who's watching.
Well done, sir. Well done. Yeah, you gave us some flavor. Way to go. Now, I think that was on Starting Out Clean. I'm not sure, but Starting Out Clean was his very first album. I remember my car broke down outside of London, Ontario, so I had met Jeanette Gritani in Toronto prior to that, about a week prior to that. Gone down to visit my parents. I guess I worked maybe 2 or 3 weeks. It didn't work out, so I was heading back out to God knows where. But my car broke down outside of London, and Jeanette had told me that if you're ever in London, go to Smale Space. It's this great coffee house, and my sister works there, Mary Ann Gritani, who now lives on Salt Spring Island. And so I stopped off and met her, and we were walking down to the York Hotel. for a brewski. And it was kind of a sunny day, and Willie was just coming out the door and walking up, and I remember right at the parking lot where we met, and she introduced me, and there was something that sort of an allegiance went on right then and there. We were both in our late to early 20s, like 23, 24, and we kind of made an impact on each other. We were both at the beginnings of our respective careers. I was a leather worker, he was a songwriter. And I remember being at the Smale Space about a year later when he came out with his Bone China band, and it was him just before starting out Clean, the album came out. And it was a killer week of him having his, instead of being an opening act, he was the main act. And it was just so powerful to see him command the audience and just take us for the most beautiful ride that you could ever hope for. And I remember that set, and I had a tape off that set, and the order the tape was done was not the order that the album was done in. So I always felt like, no, you got it all wrong. The album's good, but it wasn't the way he did it, when he first did it. He went off to do Hobo's Taunt with a whole bunch of great songs on that one, which was one of my favorite albums. And then Blackie and the Rodeo Kings came out, and Arthur, too, a great artist out of Ottawa, Ontario, who I think is watching tonight, did the album cover for that. And to how much of an impact did Willie P. Bennett have? Colin Linden, who had been and still is, and has become even a greater guitar player and well known throughout North America and the world, touring along with Dylan and Emmylou Harris and all those other people as the side guitar player. He and Stephen Fearing and Tom Wilson all realized that Willie P. was a great writer, and it was like, why isn't he getting the recognition? So they formed a group while he was still alive to get his work out there so people would know it, And it started off that way, and the first couple of albums had a lot of his music on it, and then they've now gone on to write their own style and become quite an entity. 25 years was their tour this year. 25 years on the road producing great music, all because of Willie P. Bennett. Blackie and the Rodeo Kings that name was taken off that album, and that's the name that they used. It's a great song, Blackie and the Rodeo Kings. I encourage everyone who's tuning in tonight to go online, look out Willie P. Bennett, and there'll be a whole bunch of music there that's available for you to listen to. Listen to it as much as you can. Maybe pick a song or two a day for a while, just to get a gist of where the guy was coming from. Some beautiful songs. The Lace and Pretty Flowers, I remember the story. As graceful and as beautiful as that song is, he used to talk about working at a panty company. Do you remember that, Bill Levity? And the boss found him one day in the bin of panties with panties all over his head and everything, and he got fired. And that's where Lace and Pretty Flowers came from. I don't know if it's a true story. I bet you the being in the bin with the underwear was, but how much related to the song, I'm not too exactly sure. But he used to make it happen when he did his live shows. We're going to let you listen to another couple songs off that. What's it called again? Sharpen the Plow.
Thank you for the story, John.
Yeah, there's some great stories with Willie P. Bennett. So right now, some music that's from that album. Please give it a good listen.
Satin on satin, champagne on ice. There's no second guessing, there's no thinking twice. It's only a feeling locked up in time. If you live in the moment, you leave it behind. Ah, love is such a fleeting thing. It comes and it goes, and everybody's seen it, and everybody knows. The taste and the texture of chocolate, and the moment sweat becomes sweet. The pleasure in your lover's eyes before she falls asleep. Satin on satin, champagne and lace. I have my regrets, but none I'd erase. I'll try to remember, there's nothing to hide. If you live in the moment, you leave it behind. Oh, oh, oh. What I like is solitaire. You play your cards when no one's there. The jack on queen of everything, the queen on king in Aberdeen, and everyone knows. Well, sure it's Johnny everything that slaps the night and brings out sin, and offers it to anyone with half a mind to drink it in. He's a gust of wind to a house of cards. The city sweeps its homeless into unfriendly hands at the best of times, bulldozing through their economic sin, committing a much deeper crime, and everybody knows that it's a house of cards that they're burying. Well, engineers and architects and city planners with no respect for what goes up must come down on the heads of everyone knows. It's a house of cards. The city sweeps its homeless into unfriendly hands at the best of times, bulldozing through their economic sin, committing a much deeper crime, and everybody knows knows that it's a house of cards that they're burying. Engineers and architects and city planners with no respect for what goes up must come down on the heads of everyone else. No. It's a house of cards. 10 years, just a decade, just a moment. I came, I saw, I struggled, I tried. Born and slept and awakened to you. Loving the darkness, loving the light. 10 years, it's a moment, it's molecular. All strung out behind you like silk rope. Every strand in a braid of hope. Half-life of an isotope. Loving the darkness, loving the light. I don't regret what I feel, know what I have to say. I won't be feeling nothing when I'm sleeping in clay. Ten years, it depends on how you focus. Sometimes it's lush, other times it's locusts. It ain't nothing new, and it never gets old. Loving the darkness, loving the light.
Big shout out to Jackson Haltane in Winnipeg, part of, what was the name of their band? But he's a mandolin player, and he was the one who did the recording on that one. I want to really thank him a lot for making sure that he got the essence of Willie. Willie trusted him enough that he gave him, in the room, he was able to put out what he wanted to do. Another interesting story about the Willie P. Bennett connection. I remember when I had split up with my partner in Ottawa, and I had gone to Toronto, and I found him. He was playing at some club, and I went in, and as soon as I saw him, I just broke down. I said, I've lost it. You know, my family's falling apart. I don't know what to do. And he took me aside and stayed with me on that one. And was very consoling character and helped me get through that time period. And about 6 months later, he came up to me in Ottawa, where I was living at the time, and said, "Hey, look, I'm going on the road, and you've been sober for a while. How would you like to be my driver?" And I said, "Sure." He says, "Yeah, all you got to do is supply the car. I'll pay for the gas and the food, and we'll work out the lodging on the way." And I had Blue with me at that time, my dog, and I said, "Okay, we'll get on this." And so Willie showed up, we did the show, and we were ready to go, and we packed the car, and off we went. And drove across, and I remember at one point, just outside of Winnipeg, we stopped off this little town. It's only basically a gas station. And we got out, and what had happened was the driver's door wouldn't open, so you had to go out the window, kind of like, you know. Anyway, we got in the car, and we drove into Winnipeg, got to the hotel, and I was looking for, where's Blue? We had left Blue. Blue had jumped out the window and was still back at the gas station. So I had to go back about half an hour's back down the roadway, just a barrel ass, 110, which you could do, in Manitoba, and got there. And Blue was so anxious and glad to see me. So we got back in the car, and we came out all the way to the west. I got to Vancouver Island. Actually, went to. We had a couple days off, and I ran into my ex, the mother of my son, and there was we were visiting my friend Hank Westervelt and Pat out at Crofton. And it turned out that there was a dance going on at Vimy Hall that night. So we decided we would go to Vimy Hall and see the dance. And Joy was all keen on it. So we went up there, and Monty Nordstrom was playing. And the neat thing about that was that years earlier, in the 72, I think it was, when Monty and Glenn Diaz were traveling across the country, they stopped off in Winnipeg, and they stayed at our house. So he remembered Joy and remembered the whole thing. And it was kind of neat, like 15 years later, that we all got a chance to hang out together. And as it turned out, I fell in love on the dance floor again. And we had a tumultuous 3-month relationship where my son found out why his parents hadn't lived together for 15 years. But she flew into Toronto, or into Winnipeg, and met us there. And the three of us drove back down into Toronto. And then we dropped Willie off. And just as I was dropping him off, I said, "So what'd you think of the car?" "Yeah, it's not a bad little drive." I said, "That's good. You think I should pay for it?" Because I had taken it for a test run and just told the guy, "Yeah, I'll bring the car back. We're just going to give it a little test drive." And we drove her across the country for 3 weeks. And Willie kind of looked at me and said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, I didn't buy it. I just wanted, to make sure it worked." So we ended up buying that car eventually and came back out west. And anyway, my different times of the interaction with Willie were really quite interesting. I remember when he wanted to. It was Wally High, the unofficial mayor of Kingston, the other mayor of Kingston. Pat Temple had really helped him be a songwriter, and Willie and him had been really good friends with Wally as well. And Wally had ended up with cancer and had died in January of 2008. And so I flew back as the unofficial mayor of Duncan. I flew back to be at the funeral, right? There was a ton of people, and it was really wonderful because the police who didn't, like Wally he was a biker, and he was Dan Aykroyd's bodyguard. And Dan made it work out so that Wally, who couldn't get across the border, was allowed to go to the border as long as he was working with Dan. So it's all sorts of interesting things went on. But I asked Willie, I said, "Well, I'll see you. We'll be down at Wally's funeral." He says, "Why? I'm not going to Wally's funeral. He's dead. Why would I want to go there?" So I felt really jilted by that he would have that attitude, right? And then it was less than a month, or about a month later, when I found out that I was going to Willie's funeral. So it was kind of held a bit of a grudge there for a while until that day happened, and then I went, damn. Because I had been back east, and I had the opportunity at Wally's funeral to actually go up and see Willie, and I didn't. So to that point, don't let things get in the way. If you have a chance to tell someone or you want to go see someone, let the bygones be bygones and work it out, because life is so precious. I did end up with a couple of Willie's instruments. I have two of his mandolins. One is the mandolin that was recorded, that he used to record heartstrings with, which is what he won the Juno for. Not for Willie, but for the album, which was a collaboration with, can't remember the guy's name. No, not the other, the ones up north that were in, they used to be in Joe Hall's band in the Continental Drift. Yeah, that's another thing. Willie introduced me to Joe Hall. What a beautiful excursion that was, getting to meet that guy. But anyway, they took that, and what he did with that album, Heartstrings, was Willie went in and laid down all the tracks of what he wanted to do, the raw tracks, and then this gentleman went out and got Bruce Coburn and Daisy DeBolt and various other people to do their part after the fact, right? And that album, as a collaborative album, was like killer. If you ever get a chance to listen to it, Heartstrings, it's wonderful. But right now, one of the people that I turned on to Willie P. Bennett was John Stewart, a.k.a. Lip Forrest, or as Tim likes to call him, Lippy. He did that. Do you realize? Yeah, you heard that. It's pretty hard to believe. Yeah. Anyway, he did a song last year, and he got involved with it. So this year he's found two songs that he's willing to do. One of them is the one from last year, as he gets more of an understanding about what it is. Because again, it's one of those things. The more you listen to Willie, the more you find out just how deep and how affected you would be by his music. So right now we're going to get Lippy Forrest, or Lip Forrest, John Stewart, to get up and give us his rendition. Give him a warm welcome, please.
It's good when your moniker develops a nickname of its own, I think. That's nothing wrong with that. Oh, it's very nice to be with you all tonight. As John said, I'll start you off with what I played last year. About 13 months ago, I'd never heard the name Willie P. Bennett, not that I knew of. So I dove myself into that catalog and somehow picked this one. This one's called Me and Molly. Yeah, 1974, 1975 album, something like that. Sun, she was dying and going down slow. The clouds were bursting and bringing down the snow. And all in all, no one really cares to know that the bitter end of summer is dying. I've seen a million dreams go up in smoke. Oh Lord, the way I laugh and scream about it, well, it ain't no joke anymore. Anyway, who spoke about it? Clouds went away and the moon came to stay. The stars were sending down jeweled fire. And it shone through the window and showed me the glow of Molly, still flushed with desire. We all like to close our eyes lick the snow as it flows by. See it in our faces, hold a handful of aces, be the winner when it comes time for us to die. Sun, she was dying, going down slow. Clouds were bursting and bringing down the snow. And all in all, no one really cares to know that the bitter end of summer is dying. Thanks, everyone. There's a much bigger crowd this year, I think, eh, Malachi? Yeah. Yeah, huge thanks to Malachi and Steve for starting us off. Whew. I was really enjoying it back there. I don't know if anyone saw me. Great tunes. Well, last year I was really trying to find a Willie P song to suit my general vocal range. But since then I've fallen into a bit of a track of listening to some of this new age Western music. And though I grew up in Saskatchewan, it was the far north, so it wasn't very Western and twangy where I lived. But yeah, this second song I found this year, it had a bit of that twang, and it didn't have any guitar, so I had to figure that part out myself. But yeah, I tried. I was saying to Steve, I tried out the harp as Willie did on this song, but hadn't picked up the harp for about 10 years, so I figured I'd stick with the guitar. This song's called John Henry the Gambler. Yeah, it's a good one. I'll pick it up a bit. That first song, a little morose, right? But this song's, it's fun. But appreciate y'all. Thank you. Yes, a gambler would be the best I'd be. Well, his mama turned to John Henry, said, please don't roam the streets. They're home on the farm where you won't find no harm. If you leave it, it'll be the death of me, boy. Said if you leave it, it'll be the death of me. Went down that railroad to the city. The Bennett came together there. Shot a man one day on an old Kentucky way. He'll be running from the weight of his waist, boy. He'll be running from the weight of his weight. ended up the same as you and me. Thanks, y'all. Decided not to use those lyrics on the stand in front of me, and it worked out okay. Thanks, Bill.
Way to go, sir. That's a good song. Now, that song, just so you know, my partner, Georgia Foster, sings at home. She dances up a storm, I mean, because she's being a belly dancer. She's got all these, busts out all these great moves, but she sings along every so often to different things. And we had first met, and we were hanging out, and it was about 2 or 3 years into the relationship. And I convinced her that she could sing, and that she should sing. So she decided, she says, okay, I'll sing a Willie P. Bennett song. And it was late at night, and I wasn't allowed to look at her. So I had to stand there and face the back of the room while she sang that song, right? Yeah, a cappella. It was really, really, she did it well. And if she's watching tonight, you should do it again, dear. You got a great voice, babe. You just got to get, Thanks for pulling that song out. That's a great one. We're going to give you a few more songs off that album. Sharpen the Plow. That's what it's called. And just so you know, the Duncan Showroom existed because after many years or traveling with him, we went into some different venues across the country where alcohol was served. And sometimes at the back of the room, like even the Winnipeg, the West End Cultural Center. It's a lovely venue if you're in the seating area. But the bar is right back behind that with a big open door to get into it. So what happens is the moment anybody walks out of that room and into the bar part, they forget that anything is going on stage, so they talk in their normal voices, which anybody in the back, 10 rows has to listen to. And there were many venues that we played. I remember playing at the wonderful Railway Club, the one and only Railway Club, that's prestigious. And I'm wondering, why is this considered a bullet in your belt for playing there? I guess maybe because you did it. But there was actually this couple with their friends sitting about 3 rows in from the front, and I'm watching them, and she's playing playing handsies with not her boyfriend but the other guy, right? And I'm watching all this, and they're talking during the show, and she's talking to her boyfriend while she's fooling around, and different things like that were going on. I go, wow, that's gotta, because for me, Willie was able to take you on a personal road trip, right? And if you listened, you would go on that journey, but he had to be listening. And best listen without any outside influences around you. So the showroom was created so that people like Willie, the songwriters, could have a venue where people actually listened. And I remember when he first came to play the showroom, the garage, he said, yeah, not bad, but you might want to move that speaker on the wall out about an inch, half an inch to an inch. No more. Because it's bouncing. I said, okay, Willie, done, right? Other than that, it passed his stamp of approval. So I felt very honored that happened. And he got to play there with Fred. He got to play there with, by himself a couple times. It was really kind of cool. But the whole reason that the Duncan Showroom exists was because Willie P. Bennett needed a venue to play where people would shut up and listen. So, Willie plays a major part in what we do around here. So right now we're going to play another couple songs off that album, Sharpen the Plow, and I hope you're enjoying it as we go along with it.
I called her Syracuse. She never liked the blues. She understood our truth, though she always acted bruised. Long red hair tumbled down. She could have worn a crown. She never put on airs because she lived upstairs. Oh yeah, her green eyes flare. She tells me what and where. And sometimes I don't move till she's no longer there. I called her Syracuse. She never asked me why. She was too smart for that. Thought it might spring some trap. She always laughed it off or covered with a cough. She never put on airs when we made love upstairs. Oh yeah, her green eyes flare. She tells me what and where. And sometimes I don't breathe till she's no longer there. Don't tempt me with your lips. Don't tempt my fingertips. For every memory's bruised. I called her Syracuse. And find when you figured out you got twice as much to lose. 'Cause every crime of passion comes in twos. Don't tempt me with your lips. Don't touch my fingertips. For every memory's bruised. I called her Syracuse. Now every corner's bent. No straight lines ever met. And every angle's used inside of Syracuse. Watch it, babe. You never can tell who's out here tonight. Watch it, babe. Anybody here could have or be a night. If I was flush, I wouldn't be bothering you. Oh, I've had lots of money, but for a woman's love there is no substitute. No substitute. Watch it, babe. You never can tell who's out here tonight. Watch it, babe. There's people out here still searching for your paradise. Make you swallow your pride. If I led you to believe I was someone else, there was voices in my head taking turns, grabbing for the shell, grabbing for the shell. Watch it, babe. Me and my friends don't walk the streets before midnight. Hey, cool it, Dave. I'm not looking for trouble, but I won't back down from a fight. Maybe no one's right, maybe no one's wrong. Well, love is vague, Only actions make the difference if your heart is strong. If your heart is strong, if your heart and your hands are strong. Watch it, babe. You always spin your wheels before you crash. Come to dinner and it's dine and dash. Always on your way. Baby, come and turn out the lights. You say you're sorry as if it's true. We know you got better things to do. Always on your way. Baby, come and turn out the lights. A subtle look, a touch, a thrill, reminds me what I feel and always will. You try to make things right before you go, but we both know it's just for show. You plead for mercy before dessert, up and on your way before you're hurt. Why'd you come to play? Baby, come and turn out the lights. A subtle look, a touch, a thrill, reminds me what I feel and always will. You try to make things right before you go, but we both know it's just for show. You plead for mercy before dessert, up and on your way before you're hurt. Why'd you come to play? Baby, come and turn out the lights. Come back when you got some time to spend. Here's your coat, here's your hair. What's your hurry, my friend? Always on your way. Baby, come and turn out the lights.
Oh yes, Willie P, the wordsmith. Some other stories. I remember I had the opportunity to go back and stay at his house. We lived with Lisa over in at the end of Queens, and where Queens and Kings meet, and there's a hospital there. And he was just, I think it was on George Street, wherever it was called. It was a nice little bungalow that they had. And I got to sleep on the couch, but I also had the opportunity of being invited down into his workspace, where it was his room where he wrote music. And I never realized to what extent writing songs was an art form, as I watched him, ponder over words and search and find the right words that worked. And it was quite an amazing thing, because I was a leather worker, and I understood what it's like to have your own little space, and it's your space. You don't engage with a bunch of people while you're doing it. It's your process, right? The finished thing is, yeah, here it is. But while you're doing that, it gives you a whole bunch of seclusion, which is kind of neat to work with. And I also remember that the Couch and Theater in the art lobby upstairs, Stephen Fearing was playing. I'd heard about him, and I wanted to go see him. And I happened to have a Willie P. Bennett poster that used the front cover of Starting Out Clean, or that picture. And he saw it, he says, oh, I've heard that album, I know who Willie is, that's really good, and we got to talking and all that. And I ended up doing some leather work for Stephen over the years. And one of the times was that Stephen was going to Toronto for a bit, and he needed a place to stay, and he asked if I could ask Willie if he could stay on his couch. So I'm the one that introduced Stephen to Willie P. Bennett's couch, took the blame for that. Well, to his wife, like, what? This is not a crash pad. No, but it was okay. And Stephen stayed there and absorbed as much as he could from Willie P. as well. I remember because of that, there would be nights when I would get phone calls in the middle of the night from Willie reciting a song to me and saying, what do you think of it, right? Does this work? And stuff like that. And I felt very honored to be a part of that, that he trusted me to be that sounding board for him, right? And that brings me to the point of the narrative, the actual words that he uses, it's the prose, the poetry, the stories that he tells are wonderful when he puts it to music, and he writes some great melodies. But the words tell their own story. And Bill Levity's up next. And Bill Levity, we got into this thing about Rick Dennis had started it for us. Spoken songs. When he did A Hard Day's Night at one of our open mics. We went, well, that's really cool. So Bill took the liberty one time of doing a Willie P. Bennett song, Lay Some Pretty Flowers.
Yes, it was.
And you spoke it in a sort of an Italian dialect as an old guy. And it just took on a whole new life, and I wished Willie had the opportunity to hear it the way you did it, because it was. And now, along the years, Bill is one person tonight who had the opportunity to meet Willie and hang out with him, and knock back a few brewskis every so often.
I think we did, John.
Yeah, or whatever happened to be in the room at the time. But being a songwriter himself, it was great for you to have the chance to have him as a muse and just bounce off things with him and that.
It was.
And just to hang with it, because it kind of oozed out of him, right?
It really did, yeah.
Yeah.
Part of his soul.
You got a couple songs for us tonight?
We got a couple songs and a quick story.
Oh, well, you can be a long story. Take it away. Bill Levity, give it up for him, please.
Thank you, John. And thank you so much for sharing your stories. That's really precious that you're sharing that, and especially when you first met him and your travels and your love of him. Two brothers, indeed, you were. When I came out here in 1984, I had long hair. I was not a hippie. I swear, my daughter thinks I was a hippie. I was not. I didn't really know what folk music was. I thought music was, either Deep Purple or early Genesis or choir music, which I was familiar with, or barbershop. I think those were the only three forms of music I really knew. And although I did perform at the first Folk Fest, I sang an original song. I wasn't playing guitar. My friend Dan was playing guitar. And I wasn't really grounded in folk music. I didn't know anything about it, and we were high on marijuana cookies. So I couldn't really have been grounded that day. And I think that was the night that Tad was conceived, wasn't it, Lorna? 1984? I like to tease Lorna about that. So I think the day that I met folk music was Longevity John's first show in Duncan, which was just up the street on the other side there in a coffee shop. And who was it but Willie P. Bennett? That was 1985, I think, John, or 84? 85? 89, that late, wow. So I was really lagging behind. But that was your first show? Yes. So I did see John's first show in Duncan, and it was Willie P. It was the first time I met Willie P. and John together in one night, an auspicious occasion. And I got excited by folk music that night, and I started following John around, going to his shows, and eventually carrying gear and emceeing for him. And I also got the opportunity to open for many great performers, such as Willie P. and Fred Eaglesmith and Blackie and the Rodeo Kings. And the adventures with Longevity John's musical treats and meeting these people was invaluable. One in particular was an occasion where we drove out to Tofino, and Glenn McIntosh was still with us. The first great set of ears that graced the showroom. And I think you're the bookend there, Doctor. And I think that's brought part of the reputation along, wasn't it? Was Glenn's expertise and his skill. Very quiet-spoken fellow, but very skilled. And so Glenn and I were in the old Volvo. John had a flotilla, if that's the right word, of Volvos in those days. They all seemed to look alike, Volvo station wagons. Glenn and I were driving the gear, and John and Willie were headed up separately in a van, maybe. I think he had a van by then. And I was to open for Willie at the Legion in Tofino. So I was quite excited getting to open for Willie P. Bennett. Beautiful room there, big room, but a drinking room. And so they were all set up, and a good crowd, and I was quite nervous. And of course, through the opening set, people were just talking loudly, not looking at me, and I did my best, I guess, but not being well known and not being as skilled as Willie. It was quite a disturbing experience, which is a good learning thing as well. And Willie came on, did a great show, and captivated the audience the way he only could. And afterwards, he was giving an interview to a lovely young lady and being gracious with the crowd. And finally, everybody pretty much had left, and we packed the gear up. And he said he was nice enough to say, "Bill, how'd it go?" Because of course he was doing his warm up while I was doing my set. And I said, "Well, it was tough, man. Nobody was listening, and the drinking and loudness." And he said, "Assholes." So it was great, gracious fellow. And we were staying that night at Dr. John's house. Now, Dr. John, lovely guy, lived up in Tofino, and an actual doctor. He used to fly out to the small towns, and he played Longevity's first annual 50th party up on Gibbons Road there on the trailer with his band, the Mud Flappers. Anyway, lovely fellow, and he had this beautiful house right on the water. And so we're all partying away, and this shows you how gracious and brave John is that he can be in a room with drinkers. Because the dialogue does get a little distracted, doesn't it, John? I think somewhere in the night, it was Dr. John and Willie P. arguing about Bob Dylan going electric. How many times has that argument happened in households throughout North America? But we had a great time, nonetheless, and I remember at some point going to sleep on a couch in the little living room, and it was like a 2-level thing, so the kitchen was right up above this little living room area. And I woke up in the middle of the night, Bill. And I'm like startled, Bill. And I look up above me, and there's Willie P. up in the kitchen. He's holding this bottle of scotch over my head. Bill, what do you want, Bill? So this could be like the moment of great epiphany. I could actually answer the question sincerely, you know, from my heart. This could be the moment that I discover what it is I truly want and therefore find my path towards this goal. Or, well, I didn't have an answer. That's my blue Valentine for Willie, is I just didn't have an answer. Here's a great man that I much admire asking me this important question, and I had no answer. And finally, you know, I'm stalling, and he goes, how about some scotch? So we had some scotch together, and we were standing out on the veranda and talking for an hour or two. And it was just beautiful to be alone with him. And as John knows, quite a wonderful, gracious person. It was always a thing when he would come to Duncan, he would always say hello to you and mean it, you know, and ask you how you're doing. And so we had this great discussion. The next morning, not so pretty, was it, John? He was slightly hungover and a little hard to handle. And John, it's like John shepherding a tall biped baby out to the van to get him in the van, pack him off to Nanaimo, and do the gig. And I think he wrestled his way through it. It maybe wasn't pretty on the inside, but I'm sure I remember him being quite professional nonetheless, putting on a good show. And so the wrapping up this story is that the road, of course, as John said, doing this road trip with Willie, you can imagine how amazing it is. I know, I've been across country with Longevity John. It's pretty wonderful. But I got to ride with, I don't remember why I got to ride with the boys on the way back to Duncan. And John kind of let me know or understand that in a space like that where a performer's just done a show, that it's not, you know, you have to give them room, that they're kind of decompressing and coming down, and, you know, don't bother them with all sorts of silly questions. And so I did my best. I was sitting in the back, and they were having a little bit of conversation. There were long pauses in the conversation, though not so long, I wanted to say, as those pauses that used to happen in Gibbons Road in Longevity John's workshop. Those pauses were so long, John, that I could hear the sand rustling in Port Renfrew. And in those days, I would never speak. I would wait for John to finish the sentence. Great moments of time. Anyway, we're in the car, and I'm trying to just be an observer. And finally, I couldn't stand it. There was a long pause, and I finally said, Willie, that song, Blackie and the Rodeo Kings, it's really about two guys. Why did you turn them into lovers and a man and a woman? Which is really, it's kind of, the answer's obvious if you think about it. But Willie just laughed, and I don't know, and I remember John kind of turning as he drove and giving me the stink eye. Don't bother him, kid. No, he didn't really, but yeah, just nice to be in intimate moments with somebody great like that. So, that's my story. And yes, I did try that 2 years ago, I think, with the accent. I'm not going to do the accent tonight because it might cause me to forget the words, Lip. So we were talking about that moment when you step away from the page. It's a good place to be in, but it's a little scary. So I've taken two of his songs back to back, and to sort of demonstrate what great writing it is. So I'm using them as dialogue or part of a conversation. And for the purposes, I'm playing an aging Lothario. Bit of a stretch for me, being a shy retiring fellow. So it's an aging Lothario giving advice to a young man, or a woman, but in this case, a young man. So, kid, you want to fall in love, eh? Well, if you got lace and pretty flowers to give to your baby, to get her under your power, if you got silk and sweet perfume, you know, she might come. She might come up to your room. But if you got soul, you know she's going to bowl you over. When my baby rolls me over, I feel like I want to fly. I feel like I want to fly. If you got satin and lots of money, diamonds and such things to trap your honey, she might come. You know she might come up to your room. I'd give it all to her. She might come over to your side. Big black cars, you're going to let her ride. But if you've got love and a deep devotion, it gets just as deep as the ocean. With just you two inside. With just you two inside. If you've got a house, a mansion in the country, give it all to her. She could still be empty. You could be the richest man in the world. But there's nothing I know of that can buy you the heart of a girl. Remember that, kid. Oh, and kid, let's say you do fall in love, or God forbid, kid, that you fall in love with two women at once. Oh, well, if you have to choose, take the one that you love the best. Not the one who wants you to hold you to her breast. Oh, she'll treat you fine. She'll be good in bed. She only wants to get into your head. She'll always ask, "What was that you said to me in the other room?" Ah. So if you have to choose, take the one that you love. Not the one who wants you because she feels you are above her. Well, you can lie to her. It don't mean nothing to you. She'll show pain, but you'll only see through. She only wants to hear those words, "I love you," more than anything. So if you have to choose, take the one that you love. The one that can leave you when you both had enough. She don't need much. The love that you bring her, the feel of your touch. But every day is not necessary. You can go away, kid. You can go away. Thank you. Sage advice from a well-worn traveler. And thank you so much to Longevity John for this night and the remembrance of Willie. To Willie, we love you. We miss you. And hopefully, as John says, the music will carry on. Beautiful music. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. I still like it in the Italian peasant voice. Okay. No, you just, anyway, it was very cool. Thank you for doing that. And again, if you take the songs and just take the lyrics and read them, you'll find that they're quite interesting stories. There's a couple more songs on the CD that I wanted you to hear. Willie played on my 50th birthday party, my first 50th birthday party. He said he would do that, and he came out and we did that show up at Jeff Winship's house. Small party for 400 people. Neighbors said, we could hear the music up there. And I said, yeah, but did you like it? And they said, yeah, it was okay, but it was loud. I said, no, it's just because you could hear it 5-6 blocks away. But it was a great time with that. And because of that, that's where we started going on to now my 23rd annual 50th birthday. Well, next year will be my 24th. Oh, my God. Anyway, it was fun doing that. We were going to go on a walkabout when he turned 50, and I would have been 52. And I was all ready to go. And it just turned out that we couldn't. He was in a position where he couldn't make it. He didn't want to go, and so we didn't do it. But we were just going to drop everything we had and just go out and just see where we ended up. And I was really looking forward to that for a couple of years because I was just saying, wow, this could be very interesting. Because I used to have Longevity John's cross-country K9 courier service and adventure tours. And the adventure was we never knew how we were going to pay for it or how we were going to get there or get back, but we would find a vehicle and we would go out and just see what the world offered to us, be it playing pool or whatever you had to do and stay legal somewhat. And yeah, that was kind of fun doing all that stuff. And there was one other Willie thing that there was something about him that I felt honored to be his friend or to be in his trust, that he would come to me with certain things. I loved him like a brother, like no other. I miss him dearly. Took me a couple of years to get over the fact that I was actually pissed off at him for leaving because he left too early. But as I go along and I listen to, this new album, and I go back and I listen to some music today, right from starting out clean and that, I just realized what a powerful influence he had on my life, and I'm sure on many others that got to know him over the years. So we're really hoping that people will re-investigate and find out who he is and listen to that music, because it's the kind of stuff that should be carried on. Anyone know Colleen Peterson? You ever heard of her? She was with the four girl singers there. Oh, what were they called? What's that? No, it was 4 girl singers. Quartet. Yeah, Quartet. She was with Quartet for a while, and I got to know her through Mary Ann Grittani and through Smales Pace and through Willie P. Bennett. And she was down in Nashville. She was one of the most recorded demo people in there. Anybody that brought music in, she was the one who'd get the job to sing it. So she was one of the most recorded people in Nashville at the time. And it was in between sets, or in between takes, where she was sitting in the room and she started playing a couple of Willie P. Bennett songs. And Leon Russell was there in another room, and he walked in with another guy and asked who it was. She says, "Oh, this is written by my friend Willie P. Bennett." "Wow, pretty good stuff." Yeah, you really like it. So she played another couple of songs. She said, "Can you get a hold of him? Get him down here." So she got a hold of Willie, and Willie went down. And one of the stories I heard was that he was sitting around, they were in the fancy dining place where they come up and they cook your steak beside you. And he ordered how he wanted his steak, and the guy put it on his plate, and it wasn't what he ordered. And so Willie tore a strip off him, which didn't endear him to the constabulary of Nashville. And they sort of said, "You're not quite ready yet, right?" So he went back to Canada. From shaving his head to sometimes getting so blind drunk just because he couldn't accept the gratitude that was given to him for what he would do for people, right? Sometimes after a performance, it'd be devastating to see that almost the torture in him to be able to accept everything, that he had actually done what he had done to the room with such grace. So I'm glad I could share some of the stories with you tonight. As I said, we're going to play a couple songs now to finish off the album. If you want it, let me know. We can get you a copy. And push the Willie P. Bennett memory around. Make sure you put on an album at home or go onto the internet and just play a couple songs. Find out just how good he is. And it's been 15 years, Willie. I know I'll see you someday. I ain't in a hurry to get there. But when we do meet, we'll have some fun. Talk to you later, guys.
Well, there's lots of hearts indicator, beaten and breaking and broke. And lots of roads that lead there, come by air, old train or coach. If it was safe when you're in town, I wouldn't be looking for high ground. I'd start with the transit lost and found. There's lots of hearts indicator. There's lots of hearts indicator that are beating just like mine. Some are crying for your love, and some are just plain crying. And every time they speak your name, a wheel comes off the track. But there's lots of hearts indicator, but I ain't going back. When your anger's thin and all that's left is giving in, you'll hang your head and drive away and find another heart to play. Well, don't call me up, don't call me down, don't waste a nickel's worth of time. Now I know what's been on your mind. There's lots of hearts in Decatur. Well, there's lots of hearts in Decatur, beaten and bragging and broke. At least that's what you told me the last time that we spoke. And every time I think of you, a wheel comes off my track. There's lots of hearts in Decatur, but I ain't going back. No. I came down to London town to see what I could see. The Queen came through, and what'd she do? All over me. Well, I was just passing through like a hole in your shoe. I'll settle for more. The Queen, she cried, and before she hid it, I made it to the door. Made it to the door. Well, suddenly I was free, but I didn't know what to do. Then I got lucky, oh so very lucky, when I ran into you. I got lucky, oh, I got lucky, when I ran into you. When you don't know how to grin and your pants are getting thin and all they can see is your ass, well, you can grab for all the gold that your little hands can hold, but somehow I think it won't last. If there's a porch light at the end of the tunnel, if there's a dream at the end of the hall, and it's a many-faceted Jew, even to a fool, when all you can think of is love. When you don't know how to dance, there's a rocket in your pants, and all she wants to show you is the moon. Well, just remember from the start, be careful with her heart, and she might be careful with you. There's a porch light at the end of the tunnel, if there's a dream at the end of the hall, then it's a many-faceted Jew, even to a fool, when all you can think of is love. Well, I'm sitting at the bottom of a well, a farewell of my own choosing. You see, I come to drink the water, but the water's all turned to dust. And I stopped to think about it, how maybe this was similar. And I thought I saw you standing there, or maybe it's your ghost. Tell the truth, man, what's the truth, man? I ain't making no more plans until I understand where you're coming from, where you're going to. Tell the truth, man, what's the truth, man? I ain't making no more plans unless I understand where you're coming from, where you're going to. Well, I'm sitting at a table with a few of my companions. Some are happy, some are healthy, and some don't give a damn. And your song comes on the radio, and I turn to go, but before I get 3 steps, they know I know how much I miss you. Tell the truth, man, what's the truth, man? I ain't making no more plans until I understand where you're coming from, where you're going to. You tell the truth, man, what's the truth, man? I ain't making no more plans until I understand where you're coming from, where you're going to. Sitting at the bottom of a well, a farewell of my own choosing. You see, I come to drink the water, but the water's all turned to dust. And I stopped to think about it, how maybe this was similar. And I thought I saw you standing there, or maybe it's your ghost. Mama done calling you, you're in trouble now. You should have spoke up sooner, you should have sharpened your plow. You got a dirty shirt, blood all over your hands, just like everybody else. You got a master plan. Your mama's done calling you, you better turn it around. Nobody left to blame, 'cause they're all in the ground. Mama's done calling you. Do you have any regrets? Everyone's talking about it, and we're all making bets. Well, you must have called your mama, called your family too. You must have called your mama, someday gonna call you. Daddy died with pneumonia, and baby brother, sister too. Nobody left but you, but mama, and I see John calling you. Your mama done calling you. You better turn it around. Nobody left to blame. they're all in the ground. Your mama's done calling you. You're in trouble now. You should have spoke up sooner. You should have sharpened your plow. You got a dirty shirt. You got blood on your hands, just like everybody else. You got a master plan. Everyone's talking about it. We're all making bets. Your mama's done calling you. Do you have any regrets?